We are here with Mr. Bruce Timm, the producer of the DC animated universe now.
Yeah.
So,
All-Star Superman, I think, is the next big one. That's the 10th.
That sounds right. I know.
Okay, good.
Don't ask
Okay,
me because I lose track.
big number 10.
A nice milestone and a great project to bring to the animated screen.
I hope so.
Yeah. So are you going to do every issue? Like, can you tell us a little bit about the story?
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, because it was one of the bigger storylines that we've attempted, and no, so we had to cut some stuff down. And fortunately, the nature of the comic was that it wasn't a beginning, middle, and end graphic novel. It was more of a series. Grant actually says he thought of it almost like as a TV series. So fortunately, some of the stuff was very episodic, so we were very, very easily able to like lift things out and condense and kind of really focus on the main narrative thread. Unfortunately, that means some of my favorite things from the comic, were left out. But again, everything else that we did put in it's all gold. So I mean, it's a really I think it's actually the best of the DC movies that we've done so far. So
is there any the Frank Whaley art? Is there sort of a keynote on that at all?
Well, we tried as hard as we possibly could to make it look as much like Frank Whaley's art, because I'm a huge fan of his style, and his art brought a big boost of charm to the comic as well. I mean, the story is great, and the combination of the story and Quietly's really unique stylings really created like a weird kind of alchemy. So we really tried to make it look as much like Quietly's artwork as possible, and it was of all these ones that we've done based on a specific artist style, this was definitely the hardest because one of the things about Quietly's artwork is that it is really unique and quirky, and if you don't do it right, then suddenly the characters look like bags of mashed potatoes, or Lewis looks like a shrunken apple head. So we poured through the entire comic and pulled out tons and tons of images and said, okay, yeah, her nose looks good there, her mouth looks good here, the head shape looks good there, and we tried to all combine it. But it's it was tough, but I think we came pretty close.
Being the 10th in the line, how has the process changed from the earlier days?
When we first started doing these with Superman Doomsday, we may have tried a little too hard to go edgy with the line because we specifically really wanted to set the entire line apart from the TV stuff, which was comes under children's television, and we have to deal with broadcast standards and practices. So we really wanted to kind of edge things up a little bit and make sure that the audience knew that we weren't pulling our punches. So so we may have pushed a little too hard for that PG-13 rating. So we don't try that quite that hard anymore. We just kind of let the material kind of speak for itself. But other than that, each one of these things is different. It's not like we have a formula on how to do this. It's not like we can just crank these things out, especially when we are doing something that is based specifically on a comic that we love and we're trying to mimic the comic. Then it's like, yeah, you got to start from ground zero or from square one every time, and you got to build the entire world, and it's got to look like the comic, and that means the backgrounds have to look like the comic, and the cars and the guns and all the characters and everything. So so you can't reuse any old stock that we have, So everything's all new. So it's always a challenge.
Do you feel like you guys have grown into the 74-minute time frame, and do you feel like you're using it better or differently than you were earlier?
Again, it really all depends on the property. Some of them I think feel exactly right, and some of them I do feel like, okay, yeah, I really you wish you had another 10, 15 minutes to play the story out. The one that I regret the most is New Frontier. I think that story was it was a mistake to try to do it all in 70 minutes. It really should have been broken up into 2 movies. But for the most part, I'm pretty comfortable with the time limit that we have. They don't feel rushed or incomplete for the most part, I think.
The next 2 have been announced.
Yeah.
Green Lantern Emerald Knights and Batman Year One.
Right.
What can you tell us about those?
Well, Green Lantern Emerald Knights is it's somewhat similar in format to the Batman Gotham Knight movie that we did a couple years ago. That it was basically kind of an anthology of 5 different or 6 different stories. The difference being that in Green Lantern Emerald Knights, each of the individual stories features a different member of the Green Lantern Corps. So that's what makes it interesting to me, is that it's not just 6 different Hal Jordan adventures. It's
Right.
it's there's a Kilowog story from when Kilowog himself was a recruit, and there's we do an adaptation of the famous Moko story by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and so that's interesting to me, is to try out these different characters.